Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gen V Season 2, Episode 2. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we open the episode with Marie filming a video trying to be like, yo, Totes had to take like a mental health break, but I'm glad I've been exonerated, I'm back. Having to kind of give like this like fake, you could tell she's struggling through it, but it's like, yeah, they have to make themselves more out there, like, because it's like they're less likely to make you disappear. Obviously, Jordan's like leaning more towards a, hey, we should run thing, because, if we mess around and get sent back to Elmira, hey, at least, Marie found a way out before. She'll do it again. In fact, she'll leave us again. So once again, Jordan is pissed. I think they have all the right in the world to be pissed. So it becomes a situation of, okay, so we have to do this because, yes, is this the best plan? No, but it's kind of the only plan we've got. And it's like, you're at Godolkin, as long as they've got eyes on you, they'll be less likely to leave us. They'll be more likely to leave us alone, and we're a lot safer there with a lot of attention and eyes on us. So it has to get done. So back on campus and everything, Cypher welcomes Marie back, even though he knows it's complete and utter BS. He's like, I'm looking at you, and you want to sink your teeth into me, my throat, and rip it out, which I knew like Marie would probably be upset with him, but it never even crossed my mind to think like, I mean, would she really need to go through that much? But he's like, oh, because you saw me at Elmira, which I think it's interesting because, do correct me in the comments, I could have sworn, and I do remember saying it, but I hope I wasn't wrong, but I could have sworn Emma says she never saw Cypher. Jordan did, though, at least once. But Marie saw him multiple times, interestingly enough. While there must have been at Elmira, they were probably, like, separated so that, like, information never got... I mean, why would you really comment on, like, ever seeing the same dude? Because also, like, the one time Jordan probably saw him was after Marie had already broken out. But I just think that's kind of interesting that the only people that saw him happened to be Jordan and Marie. Now, the Marie thing makes so much sense because at the end of the episode, I'll talk about it then when we get to that point in the story. But I wonder, did he take an interest? Like, is it just because of their capabilities? Because if you do look later on, he did specifically put Jordan and Marie in that, like, special, like, class to help level up. It's not Emma, because I think for him, it's like, in this war that's coming, or that's already kind of here with humans versus soups, I don't think they feel like there's really a place for Emma's abilities. I mean, obviously, you could use that for covert purposes and other stuff, I'm sure. But he seems like he's got other plans for Emma. But I think it's like he plans to use her on the more influencer side of things, whereas Jordan and Marie seem to be on the more offensive side of things. But another potentiality to this is that it's also leverage, because Jordan, like Marie cares about Jordan. So it's like you use Jordan as leverage to get Marie to bend the way you want her to. That could also be in it. Like, it could be like Jordan could end up serving, interesting enough, with just their constitution, serving two purposes. To both, because I need you because of your abilities, but also you also serve as a means to keep Marie in check. So it could be a combination of two. Because like I said, I didn't even think about it till I was talking it out. Like, yeah, Emma wasn't a part of that. So, and he never was in front of her to her recollection. So it's like interesting. Cypher's also the one that ended up informing Marie and showing her Andre's files, because it's like, oh, you guys didn't know about his circumstances. Because Andre didn't find out about his circumstances and his dad's situation until, like, wasn't it like the second to last episode? And it's also, but the time frame when they were locked up, Andre never bothered telling them, because I guess he also didn't want them worried about it, which that's kind of a horror reality kind of deal with, especially because, like, it was already clear last episode, and Jordan outright says it this episode, that they felt guilty. It's like I didn't stop Andre, and it's like it's easier for Jordan to blame Marie, because it's easier to blame you rather than like give into the terror of like the fear that I might lose you. I mean, like, it would have never crossed my mind that Andre would die, and it's like because he was going to fight to get us out of there, and I just kind of went along with it. I didn't really fight him on that. And I think that's where that guilt comes into place, where it's like I was so desperate to get out that I wanted us all together, obviously, but I was so desperate for that I was just kind of like, I didn't like really put as much effort. But as the conversation says, like Andre was going to do what Andre was going to do. Like he knew his situation was a ticking time bomb, but if it meant doing the right thing and protecting and helping the people he cared about, even just giving them a chance, he was willing to put it all on the line, regardless. You know. But yeah, getting back to the point I was making too is like, yeah, that's kind of that harsh reality where even Marie didn't want to believe, like, no, this has got to be BS. But Cypher's like, no, 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 keep it. You know, maybe it'll find you, like, give you some form of closure or whatever. And it's just like like, Hamish Linklater, like, he plays scummy. Like, he has like a weaselly scumminess to him that you're just like, you know, like he does that so well where he just like plays these like characters where you're just like, man, you know, like it's like, I just want to wring your neck, dude, because you're just like you're poking, and you're just like you're twisting the knife ever so slightly because you're the one that's in control. You're orchestrating everything, and you think you're top dog and can't be stopped. I mean, once again, he is the person that we know nothing about, don't know his powers, don't really know his background, so he continues to be one of the big enigmas of this season. Especially because he went out of his way to specifically be like, "Oh yeah, you're friends with Jordan and Emma, right?" And even suggesting like you should keep an eye on them because of the whole like, oh, the Guardians of Godolkin are being attacked because look what happened to Kate. It's also meant to be like a subtle threat. I mean, twofold. One, I actually know you're behind Kate's attack, but I can't really do anything because I need you. But two, I think there's a little like, once again, as I was bringing up Jordan being used as leverage, so is Emma. So I think there's subtle threats that you can um, take from that as well. Speaking of Emma, the class she was in was like this influencer class, and the lady teaching it is like, um, well, it was something monarch, but basically it's like it's the trad wife, but trad soups, believing in like being a soup in the streets and and being obedient in the sheets or whatever. You're just like, Jesus. And talking about how feminism has been the death of society and has ruined society, and just kind of like, cool, 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 cool. A lot of those beliefs, you're like, that's cool. And just talking about the Starlighters being the child predators that they are, and lesbos and all this stuff. You're like, cool, cool. Like, obviously, once again, the show being the parody, it's hitting all the hot button keywords and stuff like that. But yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, Emma wanted nothing to do with it because the lady's like, hey, you can influence a lot of young men, because you are she's like, let's face it, a fuckable hero. And you could basically lead people with their erections. And she's like, I don't want to lead. I don't want to influence people's erections. I don't want to influence anything. I just want to. But it's like, no, this is actually where Cypher wants you to be. That's why I was like, what? It's got to be leaning into just. Because it's like, even having not posted in a while, apparently she still has the ninth biggest social media following at the school. So it's because she is such a public figure and such a like, I guess, fervent following, and she is like, if you can really like take advantage of who she is and her audience, like you can really swell people up to be kind of like the poster child for your propaganda. I think it's kind of, even though you think Kate would be the perfect person for that, I guess like Emma, I guess, is like, I almost feel like I could see Cypher looking at it as like, Emma's broken enough to be manipulated into being that or fitting the mold of that person. Like, there's certain aspects about her that could really be the rally cry that we need, in a way that, like, whereas Kate has to do it off fictitiously through her powers, whereas like maybe he thinks like Emma can do it like sincerely, but obviously she would never be a part of it. But once again, they can twist your arm and put you in an uncomfortable position where you had no choice but to bend. Speaking of Kate, Sam, upon hearing about the attack, and obviously I talked about it last episode because I saw a tiny bit of the preview, was Firecracker, talking about like, oh yeah, like how superheroes are the most is the biggest, targeted minority group and stuff like that. So once again, her usual talking points. And framing of things. And so Sam went to go visit Kate and try to find out what happened. Obviously, they're no closer to figuring out. But then Kate, like in her state, I think maybe it's a culmination of like her skull was cracked open, had a whole bunch of surgery, so it probably caused like some form of brain damage. And considering I think her power stems from her brain to some extent, but I think this is also kind of like similar to last season when she like not only her when she dragged everyone into her mind, she kind of dragged everyone into each other's mind. I forgot what that was like in the middle of this. That had to be like what episode 5 or 6 of last season, where like they ran into like her version of Soldier Boy in her head and stuff like that. So I was wondering if this could be somewhat like an extension upon that, because she kind of went crazy and like grabbed the nurse's hand and she was talking through the nurse, and then like she ended up having the nurse stab that other nurse in the eye with like an injection needle, and then just like the place turned into like a bloody massacre. And then at the end of the episode, you have Cypher coming in, checking on her, like, "What did you get up into?" And I'm like, I guess showing you the extent of just like how crazy her power can be when she really, really pushes people and she's like losing control. And I'm wondering if there's gonna be any lasting effects of like because her skull was like cracked open and her brain and everything. I wonder like if this is kind of the start of something else, that like this is just Kate, her powers forever like elude her grasp in a lot of ways. It's interesting too because the conversation that comes up this episode is about like understanding your powers. Like, do you understand how they work? Like using Marie for example, like is it all blood cells? Is it specifically the plasma in blood that you can control and sense? Like it, and it's just like talking about Jordan's ability and stuff like that. He's talking about really understanding like how your power works, because like the physiology of like beings with powers and how things have kind of changed and what they know about super individuals and stuff like that was really interesting, because I've always talked about that, how like the science fiction behind it, like how the powers actually work. Like if you like a great example would be like if you want to get technical about it, like I'm like breaking down like how Superman's able to do his heat vision, like how that like even in a science fiction standpoint, like how does that work? I mean, it's the thing of like once you understand fully what you're capable of, it's about expanding upon it and leveling up. Is kind of the point he wants. And obviously he sends like what's his name, was it? I saw the name spelled out. It's like what is it, like Vikto. It's not Victor, but he said it's something different, like Victor or something like that. Sent the guy in looking like Thor from like God of War Ragnarok. That guy fucked everyone up in that room. People catching hammers, especially the one that Cypher was like, "Oh, don't worry, he'll heal." Maybe there's also that one person that he basically golf swung a weight into them. It was like that was brutal, dude. Obviously, the ones who put up the best fight is Jordan and Marie, because Marie tried to like give him a heart attack, but the bastard just like kept hitting his heart, trying to keep it beating and stuff like that. I was like, that could have gotten nasty, but because even partway through the fight, Jordan was like, "Yo, why is he like got such a hard one for you? Like, why is he going after you like so crazy?" I mean, some of them it makes sense because like there's like cracked jokes about his movie only having like 4% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. But obviously, they ultimately ended up passing the test, thankfully, because of Jordan, except for that one person who's like the fireball thrower who ended up getting moved to the performing arts class. I was like, "Yeah, you're being moved to performing arts." But everyone else was like, "Yeah, you're going to be back here every week to do this." So, to really push them, because once again, they're not just superpowered individuals, they are soldiers in this coming war. So, I guess he is a true believer in all of this because he does believe it is a battle for superhero survival, because it's like the human menace will not stop unless we stop them. We have to put them in their place and recognize that soups are higher up on the food chain type of situation, I guess. My point for saying all that is it doesn't seem like he's a mouthpiece. It does seem like I mean, I guess you could still be a mouthpiece for someone else and spreading and continuing the same rhetoric as other people, but also believe it yourself. I don't think he's a grifter. I think he does believe it, but I mean, who knows? He could be full of shit. We've met plenty of grifters in the show, knowing like, oh, they spout stuff they don't care about, they don't really believe, they're just falling in line because, well, if you don't, Homelander's going to squish you like a bug. So, I mean, hell, we see Marie like in front of the little flowers and gathering from Kate. It's like, oh, bless up, Kate. We're prayers for you. You're seeing the messages on like on the screen, being like, oh, you see some things saying like how pretty and hot she is and stuff like that. So Obviously, the training situation did lead to Marie and Jordan making up. Obviously, both of them felt guilty about the situation. As Vic Cipher put it, it was like a Catholic masturbator guilt that Marie was feeling about the whole Andre of it all. And I thought it was this really sweet story that Jordan told about like Andre trying to break the most joints smoked Guinness Book record, and she's like, they're like, when I checked like a diary or whatever, like last year or whatever, he was still keeping track of it. It's been something he was doing since their freshman year, and it's just kind of like I miss the guy, you know, and it just you know that's so like sad too because you're like that's one of those moments where you're just like that's probably like oh, that's got to be so weird as an actor where it's like, oh, this is somebody you spent time with, and you have to like talk about both the character and them, so it adds realness to the performance. But it's also like sad, even sadder when you think about that, where you're just like, how much of that's about Andre, how much of that's about Chance, you know? So it's just like it gets into that complicated territory when it comes to acting and performing. When you know they do a thing like that where it's like, hey, the actor died, so the character died as well, and that's it's a rough thing. Obviously I'm saying that as an audience member. I can't even imagine the like complicated feelings they have in this situation, you know. So obviously the pain and trauma brought them, like I said, rekindled the flame and brought them closer together, kind of shifting back into the continuation of like Marie and Jordan. And that was kind of this touchy moment where it's just like, is it okay that I'm still like in my girl form? And it's like, yeah, like I accept you and all things and everything. Like, you know, I'm comfortable with all sides of you. Because that was something that was kind of there a little bit last season as well, where Jordan kind of had some concerns. I thought that was kind of neat. Just kind of bringing that back and that just being a thing, kind of easing that concern. Because that will always be a little bit of like a worry and concern for Jordan. It's also interesting too because I don't think you'd ever see Jordan as being like the very. I mean, Jordan, they bury a lot of their emotions and they try not to wear their heart on their sleeves, but they're kind of easy to see through. But it's like kind of sweet when they're like, oh, like, you know, do you want to go like on a date? It's like cool, like hooking up in between life threatening situations. But it's like, yeah, let's go on a date, you know, go to Olive Garden, then like get like start making out in my car, and then, you know, then the gear shift will like touch my butt, and then like we get back here and yeah, we do each other. And it's just like, I don't know, just kind of like something sweet like that, just being like, no, I want a relationship with you. And Marie says the L word, and it's like, oh, how do you feel about that? It's like, oh, no. It's like, oh, no. It's like, yeah, I mean, yes. No, we'll have to wait for that. But it's like with all this other stuff in the way, I'm sure that's going to come back up of like the awkwardness of Marie dropped the L word, Jordan didn't say it back, you know, kind of got caught up in the heat of the moment and stuff like that. So we had Emma meeting up with Polarity. Well, rather, Polarity came to find her, and they're working together about this whole situation. I mean, Polarity initially had the plans of, I'm gonna like kill Cipher, burn this school to the ground, and then tear Seven Tower down myself. And it's like, yeah, it kind of went 0 to 100, understandably, and obviously bringing up the point of, yeah, don't you think it's kind of interesting that the only person that didn't make it out of that facility was a black kid, my son? It's like, you know, I mean, let's, you know, this country and its history of experimenting on people, especially people of color, like I'm sure that, yeah, you know, I'm sure not even just that, but also imprisonment stuff. You know, you can like read deeper into that if you want to, and I think it's meant to be read deeper into, especially with that particular line, but still. Poor Emma thought she was taking like a Xanax to calm her mind, and I'd assume a Molly, because she said she was rolling pretty damn hard out of her damn mind during that whole situation. But I guess like being out of her mind ended up helping her in the long run. But Emma's actually the one that calmed Polarity down by being like, yo, your son said that you were the smartest person he knew, that you could always like take 3 steps into the room, you'd be able to read it, you'd be able to know just how to talk to people, how to move, and kind of get what you want out of the situation. So this is a situation you need to be that guy. And so it's like, right, okay, we need to start with learning about Cypher. But then it's like, well, Starlighter, that's not Star, I said Starlight, sorry. Starlight said we should look into Odessa. He doesn't know about this, but he knows where to start. Like, I think the records, and there's the superhero, was it Rememberer, which that's got to be a crazy ability, which I'm sure that has a massive drawback, because I think there's been other stories I've come across in Heroes, or the whole downside of being able to remember everything, how much of a, I mean, but I guess that also plays into like the physiology changing, that like you can maintain and retain all that information and it not like super overload your brain. I think that's something kind of interesting to think about. But it wasn't Polarity who was able to schmooze him. It ended up being Emma, because Emma was a fan of him in his short-lived show. It's funny to hear Madeline Stillwell's name being like, yeah, she canceled the show back in 2010. And it's like, oh, she's like, you are so deserving of a reboot. And he's like, well, actually, the person who could work on it the most is, me. And he's been working on kind of a reboot of it. And Emma, like, I guess she really was legitimately a fan of the show. But I think this also, once again, plays into why Cypher wants her in that class. Because it's like, you saw, like, the master class on, like, manipulation. Like, I think she could put a lot of people to shame with just, like, her charisma. I mean, but I also think that's just, like, almost this meta layer thing, because that isn't just Emma as a character. There's also Lizzie, the actress, playing Emma that way too. Like, has that like charismatic energy through her performance too. So it's just, but like I said, I think those little moments are really building up of like what Cypher sees in her and why he has his own, whatever they are exactly, but he has some shape or form, has some plans for her. We just don't know how. But like I said, a propaganda machine feels like what, like almost like a poster child he wants her to be for this for the coming, like I said, coming war, and just like the side of supers. Hell, she was even the one who ended up discovering the secret passage. Interestingly enough, I thought that was interesting. I was wondering if it was, it simply just being high made her hearing more like heightened. But I'm also like I said, I'm reading too much into stuff, because I was like, you don't think that's some byproduct of superpowers? Probably not. That probably was just like being high, being a little more sensitive, because your senses become a little more sensitive because of stuff like that, right? I mean, maybe I'm full of shit. Like, the hardest drug I've ever done is weed, dude. I'm not I haven't experimented with drugs. I don't know, but found the secret room, which it turns out, hey, Tolkien, not Tolkien, sorry, Godolkin's got all this like Nazi shit. Which, to be fair, he was the right hand guy for Vought, so it makes sense. And let's not forget who was also connected with that other fellow Nazi, Stormfront. So it's like, well, it's not that surprising, and it shouldn't be. And it just kind of like, they see it and then they move on. But they ended up stumbling across the files for Odessa, and in that moment, Emma got so excited. She's like, "Oh my god, I did this!" And she accidentally embiggens herself, you know. But you got to appreciate the fact that she's kind of happy about it, because it's like, hey, I didn't need to eat anything. I just did it on my own. So I think maybe going forward, she can stray away from food. Like I said, emotions have always been the tie, but it's always been associated with food. I mean, to be fair, there's a deeper psychological analysis there too, of associating your emotions with like your eating patterns and stuff like that too. Like, you're depressed, you might eat more. You're depressed, you might eat less, and you starve yourself. There's a lot there, just like how your behavior and your correlation and connection with food, especially with her body image, and like I said, her mom in particular. So I think that's so fascinating. But now it's like, hey, I did it by myself. I did, because I think it's also, she was a little looser. She wasn't drowning with everything going on, stressed out. She was able to be a little loose, and that excitement kind of, especially because it's like a very big and like expressive expression of excitement that led to her beginning, which I even love that she's like playing with her boobs, being like, I'm big now. But yeah, as she was leaving to meet up with Maria and Jordan and tell them about what she found out about Odessa, she ends up running into Sam, who found out that she was the one, like, or at least had some part to play in what happened to Kate. And for her, it's like, Kate was a friend. She got you guys out of Elmira, but for her, it's like, it's all Kate's fault that we were there in the first place. What happened to Andre all stemmed from her choices and her decisions. The fact of the matter is, she got inside of your head, she got inside your brother's heads. It's like, let's not mince words. Like, Kate did like a lot of bad stuff, regardless of her being this girl that was taken advantage of, which is a part to be considered, but she has continued, sadly, to do more bad stuff. And it's just because she will probably try to justify it by being like, I'm doing bad for the greater good, because maybe she's sipping the Kool-Aid as well, which is ironic that, someone who is kind of manipulating others is now being manipulated for this cult. That is, but, I think that's sometimes how it is. Emma even saying like at some point in time Sam is going to have to face the things that he's done, because he's also acting this way because like he doesn't have Kate around to numb him, so it's like it's all coming flushing back, especially like anytime he's interacting with Emma. It tends to be like when they arise, at least to some degree now, but it's like I guess if he doesn't get a re-up every once in a while, Emma tends to be the one that can like break through, not intentionally, just she said stuff that just sends him kind of spiraling a bit. You can only just, I mean, obviously we've seen how like out there Sam can be, so you're just like, well, in conjunction with how out there Kate is in this episode, and you could put that in conjunction with out there Sam can be like with Kate, like that's just kind of like those are two characters we have to be on the lookout for this season, or just like the fallout of whatever ends up happening with each of their circumstances, because it's going to get ugly and it's going to get bad, because we can still see that Sam is still mentally disturbed because he's seeing someone. I wonder, is he still seeing his brother or not? Because his brother walked away like in the season 1 finale, but like I don't know if it's him or still someone else. I'm so curious to find out who it would be. If it's not Golden Boy, I'm curious who else it could be. I mean, it could be him facing his demons quite literally in the form of manifesting it, his subconscious manifesting itself, not as his brother anymore, but as himself. And that's always a possibility. It feels like it'll probably be a reveal, considering like they didn't bother going through showing it. But like I said, it might also just be them playing into like, even though Luke walked away, it's still Luke, but it could also just be like, no, it's someone else entirely. We're just waiting to see who it is. And then finally, at the end of the episode, we learned that they caught the quote unquote person responsible for attacking Kate, and they framed it as Starlighters. Wouldn't be the first time. It's like, oh, got to go back to the good old playbook. We saw that happening last season in The Boys. So, same situation is happening here, and it's actually the guy that Marie ended up helping out, and I wonder, was that Cypher's decision? Because like Dog not was the one that interacted with the guys. Like, oh, he was obviously reaching for something, so I had to take him down, right? Some horse shit, obviously. But the fact is, I wonder, did after his tussle with Marie and Starlight, I wonder, did he sniff out the person that he could smell Marie near or around? Probably like also from the video footage he was there, so that probably just put him as even more of a perfect target because of his correlation and connection to Marie, because it could have also been like a message to Marie as well, which that led to a conversation between her and Jordan about like, because Jordan's like, this isn't our fault, we did nothing. She's like, yeah, that's the point, we did nothing, and look what ended up happening. So it's kind of a thing of, you might as well take some action. Well, for one, it's like, if we did something, maybe we could have prevented this. Two, but it's also by not doing anything, doing nothing is a choice and an action, and even that can have consequences that you might not foresee. But either way, we get the stinger. Well, obviously the Kate thing of it, Kate situation is the stinger of the episode, but we also got the reveal that Odessa is Marie. Now that plays into why Cypher is so obsessed with her. And I guess, like, I wonder, have they always, like, she's the culmination of their experiments, I guess. And I guess it might, I wonder, is it, like, because we saw those guys injecting themselves. So I'm wondering, like, were they trying to get, like, a blood-bending ability? Or whatever they were trying to accomplish, they need a power like Marie's. Because it can be, like, but it's also, like, if that's the case, why was... Well, I guess it's got to be more. Like, I guess what Marie can do probably can go well beyond what even Victoria can. Because I'm like, wouldn't Victoria serve the same purpose? But it could also be like, maybe they never had a chance to get to her easily because of because Edgar got to her so quickly, that maybe it was never possible to get to her. Maybe like Edgar always shielded her in that capacity. Stan Edgar, rather, maybe played a role in that, and but it could also just be like her capabilities go beyond even what, like, once again, learning what Marie can really do might go beyond what even, Newman could be capable of. It's like you don't know the true depths of what your power could be and what it can do, especially when you think about what the fact is that apparently a lot of time and effort and experiments have been implemented for the purpose of Marie. Like, I don't know if like her parents were aware at all about her powers and stuff like that. Well, I mean, we know like the whole like V of it all thing of like, that was a whole conversation last episode, but it's always been the conversation of, well, if you have powers, your parents knew ahead of time, but now it's like, could she have always been predisposed to get abilities? I wonder. And it's just always been dormant, and it took her getting V at a young age to, like it was probably, it might not even necessarily had to have taken V as a child. Like it was like, maybe it was something that was implemented, like her parents not even being aware, or maybe they were aware. Maybe it wasn't V, but they knew ahead of time in this situation that their child was going to be born to be something special. A lot of questions on that front. We'll have to wait till next episode when they potentially have gone through the files a little bit more to find out what's at the heart of all this. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.